I never believed in ghosts or the paranormal until I took the night shift at the restaurant. At first, it was just a job, a way to make some extra money while I finished college. But as the nights went on, I realized that there was something off about the place. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. That was when I first saw them, the shadow people. It was just after midnight, and I was the only one left in the restaurant. I was cleaning up, getting ready to close for the night, when I saw it. A dark, shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. It was tall and thin, with long arms that hung limply at its sides. I froze in terror, unable to move or scream as the figure reached out towards me with long, claw-like fingers. But just as it was about to touch me, it vanished into thin air. I tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination. When I went home, I went to my laptop and found it broke on the floor. I asked my roommates and they told me they heard things coming out of my room and they thought I was home. I thought maybe I left it near the edge of the table so I didn't think more of it. I obviously didn't want to think a spirit had followed me. I continued going to work and everything was great for about a month. I didn't tell anyone my experience as I thought it was maybe just my imagination. Until one night, as I was cleaning the bathrooms, I turned to get the mop and there it was, a tall, creepy-looking figure. I ran out screaming and left everything behind. The next morning, I received a call from the manager asking what had happened. I had to lie. I told her I saw someone through the window trying to break into my car and had to follow him and report it. I didn't want them to think I was crazy, but the sightings continued. Every night, the shadow people would appear in the restaurant, watching me as I worked. They never spoke or made a sound, but I could feel their malevolent presence in the room. I was terrified to be alone, but I couldn't just quit my job. One day, as I walked into the restaurant, I decided to talk about it, and I soon realized that I was not alone in my experience. The other employees had similar stories of seeing the shadow people. They told me that the restaurant had a dark history. It was built on top of an old graveyard, and that many of the employees had quit or went missing over the years. It was as if the shadow people had been waiting for me, waiting for their next victim. I knew I had to leave before it was too late, but I didn't know how. Every time I tried to quit, something always seemed to keep me there. My car would break down, or I would get sick. It was as if the shadow people were holding me captive. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I did some research at the library and found out that the shadow people were believed to be the spirits of the dead who were unable to move on to the afterlife. I thought if I could figure out who they were and why they were still here, maybe I could put them to rest and escape their grasp. I started to leave offerings of food and drink in the restaurant, hoping to appease the spirits. I also started to leave notes and messages, asking them to reveal themselves to me. It was a long shot, but I was desperate. To my surprise, it worked. One night, I woke up to find a note on my nightstand. It was written in a strange language, but I could make out one word: justice. I knew then that the shadow people were seeking justice for something they had suffered in their past lives. At first, I thought it was good that they were communicating with me, but I was wrong. I gathered all the information I could find about the history of the graveyard and the people buried there. I found out that the graveyard was built on the site of an old prison where inmates were treated inhumanely and left to die. The spirits of the inmates were still trapped there, seeking justice for the wrongs they had suffered. I didn't know what to do. I started calling the families of the inmates, trying to see if they wanted to come to the restaurant. But it had been so long that some of them didn't even know these relatives. And to other families, it was just sad memories. I wish I wouldn't have done anything and I would have just quit and find another job. Next few weeks were horrible. I had nightmares that I woke up from, screaming. One night, as I was walking in, the cops were there talking to the manager. Another disappearance had happened. A young girl that usually opened the restaurant. She had missed work for 2 days and her phone was off. The cops were telling the manager that when they went to her apartment, everything was organized and it seemed like nobody has been there for days. Her family didn't speak English as she was from a different country, but with the help of a translator, they said they haven't talked to her in over a week. All of this was extremely weird. I didn't know what to do. I felt this was all my fault. I finally decided to leave the job, and within a week I was moving out of the city. I didn't want to know anything about that place anymore. I never thought this would happen to me. I always think of the missing girl and those horrifying silhouettes. I wish I would have never tried to contact the families. I wish nobody experiences what I did. But I will tell you one thing. I will never take a closer position at any job. But now, would you?